everybody. Welcome to the Black Health Podcast. We're recording live from the Philosophy Media Group studios today. And I'm Paula, and I'm joined by...
Everyone, it's Matthew.
And Mercy.
So today's icebreaker is, what do you hate? You can do 1 to 3 things that you hate and why. And the limit is for Mercy, so you don't list literally everything.
You got a note in your phone?
I do. I have a running list.
Real Virgo shit. And I hate that.
And that too.
So Mercy, you can start.
Okay, let's see. 1 to 3. This is very limiting. I guess off top, what I hate the most right now is how people in these toxic hot takes on relationships is the topic of conversation on social media every day.
Mm.
Like, okay, the people who are giving the advice, like, why am I listening to you, first of all?
Yeah.
Why do I care that you think that your girlfriend need to bring you a plate of food and rub your belly every day? Why do I care about that?
It's all with the same, like, end goal in mind. It's like to get women to, like, submit. Like, do we need to keep talking about this?
Right.
Guys, like, it's not 1960 no more. Let it go. Hang it up.
Hang it up.
We're not doing it.
I saw a video. A guy said that his woman couldn't go on girl trips.
I saw that
I saw that.
And I heard that guy who said that is caught up heavily in sex trafficking. So
makes sense.
Yeah,
So
he got very aggressive.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't want you to go on girl trips because a nigga like me might sex traffic you.
Exactly. That's what he was worried about.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, I can do what I want, but you don't need to be going anywhere. You should be happy at home, whatever, some crap like that.
Yeah. Like, why do you need to go on a girl's trip?
Get away from you.
It was so dumb.
Yeah. I mean, why do you need to go out with your homeboys? I don't understand. What are we talking about?
And I like those TikToks, you know, that one woman who like impersonates men doing podcasts.
Oh, yeah. I've seen it.
And those like went viral. That was funny. Yeah.
I mean, she be spot on.
Right.
And it's so ridiculous. But the fact that she's spot on, it's like, I know it's just supposed to be parody,
but even the women podcasts, they also just be talking about the same stuff. Like, oh my God.
It's just the same conversation on loop, and no one has anything insightful to add ever.
No.
Yeah. So I really hate that.
Yeah, nothing different. Like, I want to talk about like polyamory or like, I don't know, like just something like,
yeah.
What's the word? Some kind of like parenting style that's like become like really like new.
Like soft parenting.
Gentle parenting. Yeah. Like let's talk about like stuff like that. Gentle dating.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Gentle dating.
I was like, be soft with me.
Right. I mean, I feel it. Like, I'm not trying to be playing all these games with you anymore. I'm grown.
Yeah.
Like, what is all of this? What are we talking about? What are y'all talking about? No one knows.
Who's gonna maybe you know Matthew, but like who's filling in the vacuum for Kevin Samuels?
Why would I know?
I think that's why all these podcasts are like emerging.
Maybe that's what they're doing.
Right. Yeah. They're going to be the one
for the spot.
Yeah. Someone is hoping that they are going to be the one.
I saw someone had tweeted like, "Oh, y'all be like celebrating Kevin Samuels' death, like he personally said something to you." And then this other person like retweeted it and was like, "It don't matter. The haters won. The man is dead." And I was like, exactly.
That's so bad.
We won.
From hypertension. Like, damn. That's
so bad.
It's nothing you can say. We up.
That's so bad. Rest in peace to Kevin.
No. Rest in chaos.
Rest in chaos.
All right, what else do you hate?
Because it's summertime in Georgia, I really hate mosquitoes.
Yeah.
And just bugs. Like, it was a whole flying roach incident in my apartment like a month ago. That was traumatic. Like, I'm just making my bed and then the roach seen me, I seen him. I screamed, he screamed, we running. I don't know, like, he hiding.
He was like, it's a person.
It was just a lot. So, yeah, mosquitoes, bugs, all of that, hate them.
Yeah.
Like, especially roaches and mosquitoes. Like, what is their purpose? Like, everything else, I'm like, okay, you know, I get it. It was created for a reason. But those are literally just pests.
Yeah, I don't think they help the environment or anything.
What are you pollinating, my nigga?
Right.
You know what
are you making better about this world, this ecosystem?
Right. Because mosquito, you just out here spreading disease and sucking my blood. the roaches spreading disease since prehistoric times.
Mhm.
Are they dinosaurs?
Honestly, they might be. I don't know.
I
I don't know what the
mean,
definition of a dinosaur is, but
I'm just
I think they've
saying.
been around for a long time.
I know that's what I'm saying. They've been around that long.
Yeah.
Are they not dinosaurs?
They might be. They truly might be. And, since I'm back in town, I'm staying at Mercy's place, and I was saying to her earlier, like, "Is there some kinda big ass bug that keeps flying into the window? Because like, every few minutes, I'll hear, like, boom at the
Yeah.
window, and
It
it's
literally
like
sounds like someone's beating on the window.
yeah, like throwing a rock at the window. It's like some huge bug that keeps flying in, like a
Yeah.
bird.
No, and it's like at first I thought it was a bird
Yeah.
because that's how hard it hit the window. But no, it's one of those would be's.
Yeah, you live in the Georgia forest.
Yeah. It's like the trees are always a good idea until
Right. Do you have anything else on your list? Are you at 3? You gonna max out?
I have one more. I hate people who do not let you merge on the highway
Mhm.
or people who do not signal, like, and they just
Yeah.
or like they're turning and they
Mhm.
don't signal, they just
Mhm.
stop in the middle of the street.
Yeah, bad highway etiquette, for
Yeah.
sure, for
It's like
sure.
I be
Talking about
feeling
every other person in Atlanta.
basically,
Right,
and I be
right.
feeling like my dad because I be cussing out folks when I be driving. I be like, "You drive like you own the road," and I was like, "Wow." He used to say that all the time, but I get it because people really just be out here like they own 25,
Yes.
own 75, 85, just
It's
doing
like, "Fuck your
whatever.
life, fuck my life, fuck." Okay.
Yeah,
If you're
like
on the phone with Mercy and she's driving, you'll hear her. She's just like, "What are you doing, motherfucker?"
Mhm, mhm.
yeah, the road rage, it gets pretty
It be
intense.
on 10.
I stopped honking at people because my mama swear Imma get shot, so
They
Yeah,
shooting people on these
they
streets.
they
are.
are shooting
They
people in
sure
They
these
are,
shooting
streets.
out the
so
window.
They are, so I just beat with my mouth now. I just like
What?
like, I just have to
that
get the
works.
rage
That works.
out, you
Yeah, that's
know,
healthier.
like
That's healthier.
If I ever saw that.
listen, I have rage and I have to
Yeah.
get it out, and I'm not
Yeah, I
trying to
learned that
die
early
for it.
That's
on, being a passenger in your car, like, Imma just be quiet, so
I mean, but we get to our destination safely
we do,
every
we
time.
do.
That's
Every
hilarious.
time. So yeah, those would be
That's a healthy coping mechanism, though.
I mean,
It's not gonna get you shot.
not gonna get me shot. At least I hope not. You know, people
Mhm,
crazy, so they might just
mhm.
see my rage and get mad at my rage inside my car.
Or they'd be like, "Oh, you did something to me,"
Yeah,
when they the one who didn't
they was on
signal
the run.
or whatever.
It's just so annoying. So yeah, I guess those would be my top 3 for this week.
Mhm, mhm. This week. This period of my life.
This is definitely.
What about you, Matthew?
I only have one.
Mm.
There's like a epidemic happening, and it's really been bothering me. And it's been carried by white girls ages
Mm.
13 to about 25.
Oh.
Um, and they are just destroying white Air Force One,
Ah,
Oh god.
beating
yes.
them
I didn't know where it was
to
going, but
shit.
you were so right. You are so right.
But
What
yeah,
is that?
I don't get it.
I
Like, do
don't
they just
either.
like run them through the dirt
Like
after
they
they buy
buy
them?
They have to.
they have to.
Or go
'Cause y'all
yeah.
wasn't wearing them before. These are not old from your
They're not
childhood.
right.
Don't
Mm-mm.
lie.
They're not vintage
Right.
forces.
You just
And
bought
even
them.
then, like my forces never got that dirty.
Yeah.
Never.
Yes.
But I was also at home with the toothbrush. Like,
True,
I
you're
was
True.
taking
making it
care of
work,
them.
True that.
but I've
Yeah.
never seen one like, "Ooh, those are fresh. You just
Oh,
got those."
never.
Yeah.
Never.
Like, you went to a festival
You know
yesterday.
what? I think it's something to it though. Like I feel like they like desecrating black culture. Like
That's deep. That's deep. That is deep.
Because we take it seriously, like keep your forces clean, and just the fact that they like, now we gonna take forces, but dirty.
but dirty.
But dirtier. It's like they
On
like
purpose.
fold them
Just
to get
crease
the
them at
crease
home.
They be super creased.
Yeah, because you're right. I've
Yeah.
never seen them in a crispy pair of ones.
Mm-mm. It's never like, ooh,
Mm-mm.
Do
you
they
got
buy
them
them like that
you got those
already?
ones with the slouch socks, or you doing your thing. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know if you get them like that, but maybe they do go to festivals like right after.
immediately.
Yeah. Right.
It's probably like a underground Air Force One exchange.
It probably is. Yeah.
Hey, mines are hella dirty, bro. This got dirt from Astro World
Right. Right. Right.
Bonnaroo.
Right.
and Coachella.
Yeah, it'd
I
be a
slept in them
competition.
and everything,
Y'all
bro.
probably dead on, honestly. I would not be surprised. I really wouldn't.
How about you, Paula? What's on your list?
I got 2 things. I hate people who stop, like, walking, like, when it's a exit type of thing. So, like, let's say you coming down an escalator and somebody stop right in front of the escalator, like,
Oh,
like, it's
yeah.
about to be a pileup.
Right.
Like,
Right.
keep
Okay,
moving.
move to the
Move to
side.
the side. Like, come on, think about it. Like, it's like
Just
a
unaware.
yeah, level of, like, just being totally self-unaware. I'm saying, like, going through a door, anything, like,
The
just keep
elevator.
moving, like, or get out the way, like, understand that. That really annoys me.
You just
Someone
gotta start pushing people.
yeah, somebody did that recently. I was with them, and they stopped walking at the end of the escalator, and I pushed them, and I was like, "My bad, bro. I'm sorry."
I
Just
know,
But you
like,
gotta
why
you
would
hit
you
move.
you
do
hit a nerve. You
that?
hit a nerve. Why would you do that? It's an escalator. I'm about to get eaten by the escalator now.
Yeah.
Like, move.
Right. That's gonna be trying to tear up your
I
shoes.
know. I also hate my second thing is people who interact with like Twitter bots and stuff, or just like any online
Mm.
bots,
Mhm.
like for real, like really be arguing with the bots. And I know like it's people can't always tell like who's a bot and who's not anymore, but like come on, like try. Cause like sometimes you can go and look at the person's profile and it's like this person just opened a page yesterday and all they tweet is like, I don't know, like pro Trump stuff or whatever. Like this is clearly like an agenda. Like this
Mhm.
isn't like a real person or whatever. And so, like, they'll comment on something using, like, the same, like, key phrases that get people mad or whatever. Like, they'll be like, "Dark skinned girls can't wear bright lipstick." Like, we talked about this already.
Right.
Like,
Why are you still talking about
like, real
this?
people are not really saying this for I mean, some people are,
Yeah, for sure.
but come on, like, you can kinda tell, like, some posts, like, when people are
Mhm.
it's just like
They
a
don't make
bot to
sense.
get, like, interaction or whatever. Yeah, and people will be like, "Ah, how dare you," or whatever. It's like, you getting your blood pressure up for no reason, like, stop that.
Yeah, for sure.
I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know people spent time arguing with bots.
Oh, they really do, because now the bots are really good at looking like real people.
Okay.
Yeah, they said, like, it's a lot of bots on Twitter, like, a lot. Like,
Mm.
they're, like,
It's
starting to
the
look
Russians.
real. Yeah, yeah, it's them, like, trying to sway elections and stuff like that.
Mm.
So they really do, like, tweet stuff that sounds really real or like a real person would say it, but if you pay attention, you can see that they pretty much only tweet, like, certain inflammatory stuff,
Mm.
and, like, oftentimes it's, like, the same, like, Twitter topics that, like I said, have been, like, hashed out
$200
already, like,
dates.
in yeah, yes. Yeah, yeah, somebody who tweets that, I would go and look, like, that's probably a bot, like, or just an attention-seeking person, but it's not, like, real, like, this isn't, like, a real opinion, like, these people are
Mm.
just
Trolling.
yeah, trolling.
A troll bot.
A troll, yeah, and some people do it, some real people do it,
Yeah, they
but
do. That's sad. To spend your days. Oh, do you get paid to troll on the internet?
maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe if you get, like, enough engagement, you can, like, get sponsorships or whatever, I
The
don't know.
sponsorship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's ways to monetize tweets.
Yeah, you can work for the Russians.
Mm.
For real.
Send in my CV.
Anyway, so we're gonna move into our topic for today. So this topic is kind of like something that we've been like touching on a little bit, like in previous episodes, and so we're kind of like rehashing like some of the content we talked about before, but just like trying to pull out this one particular piece of it that we want to really highlight, which is the concept of intersectionality and like what that means, and how it impacts health and just like examples from like current media and talking about some things and how like they are intersectional and yeah, so we're just going to explain that better. So basically like I don't know how familiar y'all are like even with like intersectionality and like it as a whole like concept and platform, but definitely like people in our audience might not be all that familiar because I think a lot of people kind of get it a little bit mixed up about exactly what it means. Like I think some people some people will say like they are intersectional and like as an individual person like you can't be intersectional as a person. It's more of a it's a framework, it's a concept, it's a lens, it's an approach.
Mhm.
It's not intersectional itself is not an identity. But basically Kimberly Crenshaw, she is a lawyer, an activist,
The GOAT.
scholar,
For
the
sure.
GOAT, one of the pioneers of the critical race theory movement. So Kimberly Crenshaw came up with the term intersectionality. She was describing how the law had a narrow view of discrimination
Mhm.
as either like based on race or based on gender. So kind of like based on like a single issue or a single identity under
Mhm.
like discrimination. So she was noticing how like it really didn't account for Black women, like the particular challenges that Black women face. So she came up with this term and wrote a lot about it. And so because like Black women face discrimination based on gender, based on race, and often like a combination of both. So intersectionality really describes how like different like marginalized identities can kind of like come together and combine and create like a unique form of oppression
Mhm.
that really takes into account like it takes into account those different identities that like one person might have, but it is unique for them, the way that that discrimination or oppression like expresses itself in that in a person's life because of their different identities.
Mm.
So again, like I said, like with Black women, it's like the racism that Black women face is somewhat gendered, and the sexism that Black women face is racist in
Right.
some ways. So there was an example of this is like a court case that Crenshaw wrote about to explain like what she meant by intersectionality. So it was a 1976 case against General Motors. Five Black women that worked there, they sued General Motors for it was a seniority policy that they basically argued it targeted Black women exclusively. So basically, like General Motors, they didn't hire Black women like at all before 1964. So then when so it was like 1964, before that, no Black women were on staff. And then, like I said, this case was in 76. So like 12 years later, they had a policy that had like seniority based layoffs. So if you were more senior in the company, you know, you're more likely to keep your position and stuff. And so obviously like all the Black women got fired because they
Right.
weren't senior because
Yeah.
they had not been there as long as other folks who were not Black women who
Mhm.
had not been able to get hired before 1964. So they sued because they were like, that policy, these seniority based layoffs are discriminatory
Mhm.
towards Black women. And so basically, in the court, like General Motors was able to prove that they weren't discriminatory based on race standards because there were Black men who didn't get
Mhm.
negatively impacted by this policy. And then they were able to prove that they were not discriminatory based on gender because they were white women who were not impacted by the policy. And they won the case actually. And then like the judge was basically saying like Black women, like as a category, like that can't be considered like a special protected group or identity that's separate, like a special group that's like protected from discrimination under the eyes of the law, because it's going to open a Pandora's box of all types of marginalized
Oh
folks.
no.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a bunch of people are going to start
Getting
combining their
getting
identities.
justice.
Yeah.
Right,
And
like,
getting justice
how dare
based
they?
on it. So that's when like Kimberly Crenshaw was like, "Ah, nah, I got to say something about this."
Right.
And this is, it's illogical, and it actually is leaving like certain people more vulnerable by only like defining discrimination and oppression and these like really like narrow like lanes or whatever. And then another thing I was reading was talking about how like looking at discrimination that way, in like these narrow, like kind of like single issue, single identity type of ways is really inadequate because it limits like our investigation into certain issues as like basically like privileging like the experience of like otherwise like already privileged members of the group. So for example, like if you're only like looking at how an issue affects like black people as like that is the only identity that you
Mhm.
consider, then you can easily like only kind of be like observing the experiences of like black cisgender men and stuff like that. Like instead of understanding how being black and disabled, black and trans, black and another like marginalized targeted identity is like a unique thing within the black
Mhm.
experience. And so if your like programs or policies, whatever, don't take that into account, then you're not really addressing uh like a more like from a complex and a critical standpoint, and you end up kind of like leaving people out basically. And same with like women issues and stuff. If you only look at it like, oh, just, this is just like a overall experience of like what it means to be a woman. Usually that's like come from like a white woman's perspective.
Mhm.
So yeah, so you have to think about race and other identities as well within that. So yeah, so then we were just gonna talk about like some different like recent stories, things in the media that kind of like speak to this concept, and just explain them like from an intersectional lens. So yeah, I'll start actually. So like the topic I came with today was about like all this like anti-trans like legislation and just sentiment that's like in the dominant society today. They've been passing these like bills. I'm pretty sure we talked about this on a episode like maybe 2, 3 episodes ago. But they've been passing like bills that are like like can't have trans people in sports or whatever, or like
Mhm.
gender testing in sports to like ensure that it's only like cis
Yeah.
women or cis girls, I guess, playing on the girls' team, or else like, the trans person will have some kind of like unfair advantage, is the assumption and things like that. So, so there's been these laws and policies implemented for pretty much I think so far it's been like school age children kind of like to ensure like do like gender testing and things like that. Also just generally like this anti-trans like bathroom bills, all of that like sentiment
Mhm.
and stuff. And those things also like affect like, healthcare and then like mental health of trans people, and just like the overall environment. So even like it'll places where there are these anti-trans laws and policies, like we'll see increases in violence against trans people. And so, yeah, so I want to talk about kind of like how trans issues are like a Black issue as well, and that we need to kind of be seeing like the intersections of like trans rights with like rights for all Black people in a way. And like some examples of that. Well, first of all, like I want to focus on Black trans people. So like they are like so if you think about like attract attacks on trans people as like and I think a lot of Black people do this honestly. It's like think about it like a white issue. Like they
Mm.
think of like Caitlyn Jenner, or they think of like, just like other like they see transness and trans rights as like a white thing and
Mhm.
Mhm.
something that doesn't like, I'm Black, like that don't got nothing to do with me or whatever. And like a lot of Black women, I think don't are like really pushing this kind of goes into like your podcast thing because I feel
Mhm.
like on a lot of these podcasts, like Black women push like this like femininity and
Oh,
like
yeah.
being like a soft woman
Mhm.
and stuff like that. Like that's become like a new
It
trend.
is.
And yeah, and I feel like that kind of stuff like this, like who's a real woman type of like rhetoric
Mhm.
and stuff, that's really like, transphobic at its core. Like I really just feel like Black women, Black people should not be like okay with that because we're harming ourselves. We're also harming our um other like Black trans people and stuff like that as well. So, So like black trans people more likely to like face violence. So when we have these overarching like sentiments in society, this like cultural transphobia, it's our folks, our cousins, our
Mhm.
brothers and sisters who are harmed by that the most. Black trans people are murdered at like crazy disproportionate rates. And it's just like so it's like they face violence, they face like the impact of like the mental health implications that has, all of that. And so like so they're much more like affected within the trans population. So it's already incorrect to think about trans issues and anti-trans laws and bills as like, oh, that's going to affect white people.
Mhm.
It's definitely going to affect black people the hardest. And then like
Unusual.
kind of like on the other, so this is like something that I kind of bring up like a lot of times because people, like I had someone close to me in my family actually who was kind of like we were talking about the trans like sports, like the
Mm,
gender
mhm.
sports stuff, like or
Mhm.
what gender are you for real or whatever type of push within the sports community. And this person was like, yeah, no, I get it. Like, I don't think trans people should be playing sports because they are gonna have an advantage. Like a trans woman would have an advantage in female sports and stuff like that. And then I had to bring up to them, I'm like, well, like actually, like it's it's not even like trans women who I mean, it is trans women, but also it's like it's been cisgendered black women
Mhm.
who
Mhm.
are like really like getting screwed over by this. Like, because I feel like well, what has been happening, so, like, with Caster Semenya, and
Yep.
there's been some other athletes as well, like pro athletes too, Black cisgender women who have been singled out as being, "Oh, you look a little too
Mhm.
manly."
Even the
So
jokes they make about Serena.
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and so with Serena as well,
Mhm.
the jokes, but then that also ended up with her being, like, always singled out for drug
For drug
testing,
Yep.
testing, yep.
like, way too much, that it wasn't just regular or routine and stuff like that, so when a Black woman gets good, then it's gonna
Mhm.
be, like, so easy to kind of attack her off of these gender tests or whatever, like pointing them out, the competition and all of it gonna be like, "Oh, that person needs to be tested."
Mhm.
And we already know the tests don't really prove anything, right? Like it's a farce. So it's like you're testing people like with Caster Semenya, like are saying like, "Oh, she has too much testosterone." So like I think it's like she couldn't compete, right? Like this,
Yeah, they didn't let
yeah.
her
Yeah.
compete.
Yeah.
She's been ruled out of a number of competitions. Yep.
Yeah, and then the other athletes, it's some couple athletes, I believe, from Kenya who also, couldn't run, like, they were running track as well, and, like, they couldn't run certain races because their testosterone levels, but these are, like, cisgender women.
Mhm.
So, like, we also, like, need to understand, like, trans issues in that way of being, like, they also, like, they impact Black people,
Mhm.
and they impact, like, Black women, like,
Mhm.
trans women and cis women. Um, yeah, so I
Yeah,
don't
and then,
know.
like, ultimately, when they make it more difficult for trans people to exist, and to be in spaces and to feel welcomed, that's gonna have a greater impact on Black trans people, Black trans poor people,
Mhm.
because
Right.
they're gonna be the ones who feel that impact, the most. And I think you mentioned, the higher rates of suicide for, trans people. And I think, yeah, I don't think that people realize when, and this is part of the intersectional conversation that we're having, right? Is like when they make laws or they make rules, attacked at a non-Black identity, political identity. Usually, if Black people also fall into that category, they're going to suffer worse.
Mhm,
Mhm.
mhm.
And like and for most political identity, like there are Black people who share that share that identity. And so I don't know. It's really hard, because I do think some Black people have a very narrow view of what it means to be Black,
For
Yeah,
sure.
right?
yeah.
And like
Mhm.
as you said, they see this as a white issue or a rich people issue,
Mhm,
Mhm.
because um, probably because they're transphobic and none of their if there are
mhm.
trans people in their circle or in their communities, they're not going to
Go
be
through.
around them. They're not
Yeah.
gonna come out to them. They're not gonna do those things. And so, um, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just really hard
Mm,
to navigate that space and stuff.
Yeah, and basically, like, trans rights, like, is also, like, that's a women's issue.
mhm,
And I think the reason too that, like, a lot of Black folks don't, like, fully understand, like, the kind of, like, the interlocking, like, relationship between, like, LGBTQ rights and racial rights and things like that is, like, because it's not framed that way on purpose.
Right.
Like,
mhm, mhm.
like, they try to frame this as being, like, that's against you,
Yeah.
and a lot of this rhetoric around, like, feminization of the Black man
Mhm.
and, like, questions, Twitter questions around, "Are you Black first or are you gay first?"
What?
Like like that dichotomy, like, that's the problem.
Yeah,
It's like a lot of people are all of the above. And so,
exactly. Like, why do
yeah.
they have to pick?
Yeah.
But I even noticed, like, that conversation was popular a lot, during, like, the 2020 protests. Like, I
Mm.
remember posting about Black Lives Matter and then posting separately, like, Black trans lives matter too, because you can't, like, leave trans folks out of the conversation. Because oftentimes we know that, like, when you say Black, it's never Black trans, Black women.
Right.
It's always kind of centered around Black cis hetero men because sexism, men still kinda.
Exactly.
So it's like when I mentioned that, then it was like, "Why are you trying to be divisive?" And, "We're all Black," and, like, da, 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 da. I'm like, "Yes, we are all Black, but Black trans experience is different from your experience as a Black cis person." And,
Mhm.
like, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that it's different lived experiences and different things impact different populations differently. It's not being divisive. It's calling attention to the issues that exist.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know why people think you have to be all or nothing. It's like
Yeah.
pick one. Like, no, all of my identities are essential to who I am as a human being.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, because it ends up, like, just grounding the experience of Blackness, like you said, like, in a Black cis man's experience only is
mhm,
where it ends, and it makes all the other experiences of Blackness and the ways that oppression looks and happens for us invisible,
mhm,
basically, and that's, like, really dangerous and problematic because it just still is, like, gonna continue to make it, like, easier to oppress people,
mm.
um, and, like, yeah, like, we what's the saying? Sorry, what is it about, like, we all, like, can't get free if
We're
none of
not
us is
free.
free,
Yeah, we're not free until we're all free.
until we're all free, yeah,
Yeah.
that.
Mm,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly it, right? We have to widen our view of what liberation looks like,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it can't just be liberation for Black men, Black cis men, because ultimately, that's going to lead to the oppression of other people.
Mhm.
And so,
and it's not gonna happen. Only Black cis men can't be liberated, right?
no,
Like
Right.
like,
yeah, uh,
yeah. We're all like, all of our futures and destinies are actually, like, really dependent on one another.
Mhm.
So, yeah. But I'll pause, like, I don't know if y'all had other topics y'all wanted to bring forward as well.
yeah. I mean, I think we were getting there a little bit, but I've really just been thinking about and reading about the um, how PrEP hasn't been reaching Black
Mm,
women.
Mm,
mm,
mhm.
And so PrEP is a medication that folks can take if they feel that they are at risk or at higher risk for catching HIV. It's an oral medication that you can continue to take that will prevent you or significantly lower the chances of you getting HIV.
99%
Yeah,
effective if taken every
Mhm.
day.
every day. Um, but what we're seeing recently, and the data is showing that there are increasing, I won't say increasing, but there are still high rates of incidence of HIV among Black women.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Um, and I think of all women last year, 60% of cases were in Black women.
Wow.
And
Mhm.
Black women make up only 14% of the population of women in the
Yeah.
United States. So tremendously overburdened. And I think that's the case for a long time. The HIV space has been really catered to men, men who have sex with men,
White gay male.
white gay males. Yeah, and so what we see as the sort of impact of that is that one, a lot of people don't know that they can take PrEP. A lot of Black women don't know that PrEP is available to
Right,
them
Mhm.
right.
because it's not marketed to them. And then secondly, the stigma around a woman taking PrEP is like, oh, I'm not a gay man. This isn't something that I need to do.
Not
Mhm,
promiscuous.
Yeah, I'm not
mhm.
promiscuous. This isn't really for me. But if we were approaching, this public health issue with a more intersectional lens, we would see that the data is showing that there's a segment of the population, Black women, who are not getting the resources that we should be
Yeah, they're
sharing
not
with
being
them.
reached.
They're
They
not.
weren't even included in clinical trials for PrEP.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, like, not one single Black woman was in the clinical trial.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think, rates have been slowly declining, but in recent years they've plateaued
Mhm.
for Black
Yeah.
women. Um, yeah, so I just think it's a really interesting public health issue
Mhm.
that really shows how an intersectional lens may have prevented this
Mhm.
had the distributors of the drug, public health departments thought about, hey, there is an increased risk among this population.
Mhm.
We should be more intentional about getting these drugs out there. And the article that I read came out 3 days ago, right? And so it's
Mm.
just it's
Yeah.
a big issue
Yeah.
that we're seeing, and something that I think is going to continue to trend negatively if we don't, you know, fix this.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like, public health workers and stuff should have been, like, gendering their response and their interventions and programs.
Mhm.
And like, we did that Black Health Conversations with Dr. Oni Blackstock, who is an HIV physician and just activist as well in her own right. And then HIV advocate and survivor Brimsky Evans. So we have a video of that on our Instagram. You can check out on our YouTube as well. We were in conversation with them. It was like a really, really good
Yeah.
talk just about like different things that are happening currently for HIV in the HIV space and for Black women in particular. And so Rimsky, she was talking about how like just this exact issue, Matthew,
Mhm.
like she didn't really even like think like she was at risk for HIV like
Mhm.
that. And then after knowing that she was HIV positive and then like trying to seek treatment and help, like was there were so many barriers for her, particularly as a woman. Like had no one like to take care of her children, and like a lot of women face that. Like
Mhm.
as a woman, oftentimes, like, in Black spaces too, like, you are playing a lot of roles
Mhm.
for, like, your family, and so you can't really just step away, like, because
Yeah.
then there's no one there to take care of the kids, take care of the home, take care of the man. Um,
The
all
parents, the
all of those
whomever.
things, everything kinda just falls apart. You also have a job, all this
Mhm.
kinda stuff, and so like, just even being able to, like, step away to go to your appointment, pick up your medication, all of those kinds of things, like, there are barriers that are in
Mhm.
place, and so if these programs would consider the particular barriers that Black women, Black, like, caregivers, people who play that kind of role, which is often women in our communities,
Mhm.
have to face, then they could do things like have childcare available on site, transportation options, just things like even like marketing, how you
Yeah.
market it, just not only have, gay men in the ads, even if they're Black gay men, like that's great, but then we also need to show as well, like another dynamic to it, which is this
Mhm.
highly affected population as well, which is like Black women, like straight heterosexual Black
Yeah.
women.
Yeah, and I also remember her talking about, having to wear or battle the stigma of
Mm.
like her partner being seen as like down low, right? And
Oh,
Mm.
yeah, and
yeah.
like
Yeah.
Yeah.
even as a woman having to like
Mm.
own that shame
Yeah.
of like homophobia in our
Yeah.
community, right?
Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah,
That is
right. It's
deep.
just
That's deep,
it's super
yeah.
interesting to think through the many layers
Yeah.
Yeah.
that impact a woman like then going to seek services
Mhm.
after an HIV diagnosis.
Mhm.
But then sometimes we don't even get there, right? Because
Yeah.
we haven't framed HIV and AIDS as a issue that impacts women at all,
Mhm.
right? I
Mhm.
know women who've said that, oh, women can't get HIV. I'm just like,
Wow.
"That is not true."
Not true.
Wow.
It's actually
Uh,
easier.
yeah, and it's like, you don't
Yeah.
really understand your risk, of having, when you're either, injecting drugs or having unprotected sex or doing a number of different things. Um and it's like you have to, and so that I don't blame that person at all, right? I think that's a
Mhm.
failure of our
Sure.
public health systems, of our medical systems,
School
school
systems.
systems, again,
Mhm.
not adequately approaching this public health issue, which was the public health issue
Yeah.
of our
Mhm.
generation and generations before us. Really before, I'd say opioids or COVID.
Mhm. I
It
agree.
was only HIV,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and so I think we really have to continue to widen the lens and have a more intersectional lens about how we approach, HIV. I think this is actually something that Black Health should do. We should do
Mm.
Yeah.
some marketing around, PrEP for women, and I
Mm.
think I think that
Mhm.
could be a really cool avenue to explore for us.
I would like
No, I
that.
agree, I like that because there really isn't anything that really exists to let women know that PrEP exists, like, even, like, when I go to the doctor and, "Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
you want an HIV test?" Like, "Yeah, sure," but, like, you should also be initiating a conversation about PrEP, like,
Right.
Yeah,
"Why
right.
aren't we talking about this?"
Black women in Atlanta, even I mean, anywhere,
Yeah.
but, like, these high risk cities, like,
Mhm.
yeah, for
Exactly.
sure.
It's like, yeah, you're doing the testing, but, like, yes, testing is prevention, but there's also pill as prevention too.
Right.
Mhm. Now
So,
they're making injectable PrEP, or
yeah,
is it already on the market, do you know?
they have injectable HIV treatment
Oh, okay,
Okay.
that's
okay,
on the market
okay.
that's pretty promising. So,
Awesome.
yeah. So it's like, treatments and like prevention methods have come like such a long way with HIV and the fact that like just so many people in our country don't know about any of it. It's just
Mhm.
like, well, we're at the top of the list though. Like we should be the people who are like targeted in these
Yeah.
campaigns to get this stuff. And like a lot of the pharmaceutical companies, I know like with Gilead, like a lot of it, they have programs, so a lot of it's not at no cost to the patient.
Yeah,
So it's just like there are, plenty of ways now,
to get
like to
access,
access.
yeah.
But again, there's still those barriers because like, like we're saying, like people aren't looking at it from an intersectional lens.
Yeah.
They're just, okay, this one group here, let's do this one targeted thing to target this one
Mhm. Or it's like, yeah,
issue.
like, we're gonna help Black people, but then, like, they pretty much devote resources to, like, a certain Black person
Hmm.
Right.
and don't think about all the different ways, like,
Right. And it's
yeah.
like, yeah, you'll see like a lot of these like drug companies and stuff like at pride events,
Mhm.
but like y'all not at Essence Fest.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? It's like that's
Right,
the perfect opportunity
right.
though. Like you said, Black women are still like the top of new diagnoses every
Yeah.
year.
And then by framing HIV, like, because it's, like, as a gay disease, like, because it's so
Right.
stigmatized,
Yeah.
so, so stigmatized. And so really what ends up happening is that, like, all the, like, force that we should have as a community around, like, doing something about like, we should be pressuring the government every day. We should be on their necks. Like,
Mhm.
HIV is still an epidemic in our communities. Like,
Mhm.
And there's no reason it should be.
No
no
reason.
reason at
Yeah,
this point,
absolutely not.
absolutely no
Yeah.
reason.
40
But
years.
people aren't even, like, riled up about it because they think that's gay people stuff, that's their
Mhm.
business.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
no, it's, like,
And then,
not.
sometimes I like read the comment sections cut on Instagram because
I don't know why you do that.
it's very entertaining, and sometimes it makes me sad because
Yeah.
of the things that people believe, but like literally I was in the comments the other day and they were talking about like getting access to like contraception now and condoms and stuff like that with all the Roe v. Wade stuff. And then it was like all these guys were just in there like, I ain't using no condom. And I'm just like, we why are we talking like this still in 2022? And like y'all are proud to be out here
They're
like
like, when
it was like I ain't hitting if I can't go in raw. And I'm like, okay, y'all are saying all of this. When was your last STI screening? Because I bet you
never.
cannot answer that
Not
question.
never.
So it's just like there
Hey,
is
y'all get
just
screened every 3 months or every time you get a new partner, please.
please, please,
Good
y'all.
advice. Very good
And even
advice.
if you are in a relationship, you still need to get tested at least twice a year. Thank you. This is your public service announcement from Black Health.
Right, that's what we do.
But yeah, so it's just gotta figure out a way to reach the
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. So if you're out there, you're interested in partnering or funding,
Funding,
some work in, prep for Black women, we'd love to speak to you.
especially if you have
Definitely.
funding. Not because, like, listen, people think because 'cause you're a nonprofit, you're supposed to work for free, and, like,
Yeah,
that's just
yeah.
not it, y'all.
Like, let's
People
Imma look into
people
the
that work for
lens
work
with
for
this
nonprofits
one.
don't have bills.
Does the
we just do
government give
it
us
out of
free
the kindness
bills?
of our hearts.
And I like to live my life. Pay
Mhm,
us.
mhm.
Thank
Well, I mean, we're members of these marginalized groups, so, like,
I know.
you
I feel
pay
like all of that
us.
should be part of, like, reparations for Black folks, like, free education, free living expenses.
Mhm.
Like, that is our 40 acres and a mule,
Oh, for
and
sure.
we should all get this.
I don't want a Tesla.
I mean, it's electric. Woogie, woogie, woogie. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh my
Our
god.
African American friend Elon Musk.
Y'all gonna make me flip a mic over. Because some people were really saying that man was African
I
American,
saw
They
and
that,
I'm
were.
like,
man.
"What you will not do."
What you will not do. Like, try
Mercy,
it.
do you have a current thing, or do you wanna we can move on.
I mean, mine was also just focused on Black women also, so I think we
We
drove
touched
that
on
point
it.
home.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure, for sure.
Yeah, 'cause at the end of the day, for me, it's Black women over everything.
I love you too.
I saw this other tweet. I was like, people say men and women can be friends, and the answer is that they can't because the woman will always have some disdain in her heart for the man.
Just a little smidge, like,
And I was
mm.
I feel
like,
that though.
that's so true.
Like, it's like the princess and the pea, like that one
Yeah,
pea at the
yeah.
bottom of all those
Like, I love
mattresses.
you, but niggas.
If I had to choose.
Yeah.
Don't ask me. Don't ask me to make a choice. You are not a Black man that I bore from my body.
When the gender war happens, I'll save you for last.
We'll put you in the nice room.
Yeah.
We got an encampment.
Yep. But, I was gonna say something, sorry, y'all.
It's all good.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, so also about this, topic of intersectionality, it's something that we discuss in our racism and health curriculum
Mm.
and, yeah, our general, like, Black health curriculum. So, if you want some people to talk to you about intersectionality, do a nice little PowerPoint, we got some slides we can click
They
through.
real nice.
Yeah. They're very nice.
Got some examples,
Yeah.
some
Mhm.
activities.
We
Love
do, we
activities.
do. So yeah, we can come to your school, your workplace, your function,
Virtually, wherever
and
you at, we can be
virtual,
there.
yep, your Zoom room and talk about it. Um, as well as we're building an e-learning course that I'm like super, super excited about. And it will also be in our e-learning course. So stay tuned for that. Check back on the Black Health website and see when we got that up and running. Hopefully, end of this year.
Yes, Lord.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think we're ready to close out.
All right. Well, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed live podcast. Paula's back, y'all. She's not here forever, but she's here right now.
I'm back
So we'll
for
take
yeah,
it. So it's great to
2
be in the
weeks.
room. And we saved a seat for Khadijah. She's in Baltimore right now doing her fellowship. Go girl. We love to see it. Dr. Deej on the way.
Mm,
But yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening to us rant about all things Black health. We hope that you enjoyed. Please give us your feedback. We want to hear from you. So give us any comments, any topics you guys want to hear from us.
definitely.
Um, yeah, and like make sure obviously you're following us on all social media. That's BLKHLTH. Stop spelling it full words, y'all.
And
I'm
stop
sorry.
making up different names that
Stop. It's Black Health. BLKHLTH. There's no space. It's
it's not
just
Black Health Matters.
not blackhealthmatters.com. I don't know none of that, y'all. It's Black Health. Okay. And
Appreciate it.
but yeah, make sure y'all tapped in with us. We got some really great announcements coming up. I heard we might be on the West. I heard that we gonna be on the West Coast in
Mm,
September 18th, LA. with Black folk and music and vibes and health stuff because it's us.
We doing a block party with Issa Rae.
She might pull up though, for real, for real. Like while y'all playing, we gonna be in the neighborhood.
Shout out to Trap Medicine.
Shout out to Trap
Yeah.
Medicine. Shout out to Dr. Folamay.
Yeah, we'll be there.
We gonna be there. So tap in with us, y'all. Y'all have a great one.
Bye.